Welcome to the Franchise Frontier, the podcast where we explore the evolving franchise landscape, dive into latest industry trends, and share actionable tools and tactics to help you build and grow your business.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Franchise Frontier podcast, where we unlock the keys to success while talking business ownership. Today, we are excited to have the owner of Mighty Dog Roofing, Blingle, and the founder of Varsity Zone HVAC of Southwest Florida, Phil Crutchfield. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Phil, I know that in terms of franchising and even franchising with horsepower, you've been here since the beginning. So when you talk about understanding your journey, talk a little bit about where you started out and when you started to make the decision that franchising was the path for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had two previous companies that, built from scratch, no franchising at all, no branding, no nothing, and never thought I needed the franchise network. Honestly, when I exited out of the last one and decided to get with a business partner, and we were looking at other alternatives of what are we going to start next, looked around and came across horsepower brands on Mighty Dog, and thought to myself, okay, what's this really all about? How's it going to help me? What's the differences it's going to do? And once we dove into it and realized, okay, the branding's done, the websites are done, this is done, that's done. We launched in less than 60 days. I nowhere close to that with my previous businesses. So I was able to get going and generate revenue much faster going through this process. And then, going through my time here now for 4.5+ years, there's other things that they're doing I don't have the capacity to do, finding other resources to help make our business better. Whether it's the buying power that they have, right, with the different brands, because there's such a large group of people and franchisees buying a product, you can get much better pricing. And the little things like Rilla is one of the newest things that they've introduced that helps it's all AI tools for our sales guys. I would never had the chance to spend the time and investigate different products like that, or even know they existed. Those are the types of things that the franchise network really helps with.
When you think about even before you own business, as a youngster, you would call it, is there anything about maybe the way you grew up or anything that kind of inspired you to be into business ownership?
I think it's more I was a pain in the ass to all my bosses because I always wanted more, right? I always thought I can do things better, or why are we doing it this way? I would challenge. I would challenge a lot of people that I worked with to do better. And I just got tired of it and said, why don't I just do it myself? And that's essentially what's happened. I still challenge horsepower, right? I'm still well known here in these walls for challenging things and say, why don't we try this? Why don't we try this? And sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, but at least there's a conversation that's had. And again, it's always trying to make people better and do business better. That's what really intrigued me. I've always been selling. So now I'm just selling for myself for the most part.
I think back to what you just said a second ago about, the tools and the processes and things that are in place. Not that you wouldn't have found the same tool, but I think there's a testament to franchising where you talk about there are just things, and I always talk about in terms of how expensive is it? And I don't always mean expensive by price tag. I think about, the time it takes or whatever. When you talk about some of the CRM stuff or some of the sales tools or even Rilla, like you talked about, those things for an independent business owner would be expensive for a price, expensive for time to even work through those systems to see if this is something you can implement. By being part of a franchise, to your point, the brand teams maybe it's something that you brought up. They're taking those things, those initiatives, and putting them into place and saying, okay, let's test this and see if it makes our franchisees better. Mm-hmm. And then it provides you guys the opportunity to still continue to do your business and then say, hey, we worked through this. Here's how you're going to start to implement it. And here's how it works forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that when I mentioned it is literally my capacity, right? I'm running the businesses. I'm not an absentee owner. I'm ingrained in the businesses, and that's my sole focus. It's amazing that somebody's in the background trying to find things to make my business better.
Right.
And that's what the franchise network does.
So when you think about, and again, you're a multi-unit owner at this point. Even if you wanted to go back to the beginning, talk us through a little bit about your day-to-day operations as the business owner, and start us a little bit in the beginning of Mighty Dog and then what has expanded to now.
Sure. I mean, early on, luckily enough, we were in a position that we hired some really great people early on in Mighty Dog, which allowed me to grow to where we're at today. If I were to do it by myself, it'd have been a much more difficult, longer process. But I still ran the operations. I ran the sales. I ran all parts of it, right? And also on the finance side, I was still managed and worked with my bookkeepers and whatever I needed to do. I did it all, right? You do what you have to do. And I purposely do those things because I want to know the business inside and out. Before I start bringing other people on, I want to know where's my weaknesses, where's my strengths, where do I need to hire to fill some of the voids that I have. But also as we start to grow, what are those jobs that I need? With the pro forma we built out prior to starting the business, we would have failed miserably if we went off those hires that we thought we needed. And we would have done that if I wasn't in the business, right? I was in the business like, no, we need a field supervisor. We need somebody on site managing the project. Because if I'm there, I'm not selling, right? So I need someone responsible for the job while it's going on. So those types of things that we learn throughout the process. And yes, as we continue to grow, I find more of those people to fill those spots that, maybe I'm good at, but I don't want to do, or maybe I'm not good at, and I still don't want to do, and I am doing, right? I got to find those things and those people to help fill the gaps, which I've done, right? It's still always ups and downs, right? Employees, you never know what you're going to get, right? They can have a great interview process and unfortunately it doesn't work out. So that's one thing we have learned is quick to fire, right? Slow to hire, quick to fire. It can drain you if you take too long to let somebody go, but now it's a different model. I'm helping the sales team, right? I'm helping the operations. I'm there as backup as they're going through their motions and they need a little bit of this or a little bit of that, or what do you think of this? That's what I'm there for, right? I'm there to support every part of the business and every part of all the businesses, honestly.
Yeah.
Majority of my time is with Mighty Dog because that's the largest of the three that we have. But I have an amazing team on Varsity that I don't need to be there as much. It's a smaller knit group, but they've all worked together. It's a really tight machine. Blingle for us is strictly holiday. We're not doing any of the landscaping right now, but so now it ramps up. We're in season right now, and we move bodies internally. Okay, now you're going to be responsible for Blingle for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
Right, and pull them off one of the other brands, which is nice that I have the ability to do that and move people around, and it's been very well received. So I'm just more of not necessarily an overseer, but I'm a coach in many aspects. I'm a therapist in many aspects. But I also like to sell and generate revenue too. So I love to be out in the field with the guys trying to close business.
So as you look at when you started Mighty Dog, when you built out your team, do you feel like in the beginning you were building out a team based on, as you knew more about the business, you were filling deficiencies, to your point, like,
Yes.
I don't want to do this, or I don't know how to do this, like you mentioned. So as you built out that team, was that a difficult build out? Are there certain things that you thought, I want to build out a team from the start before you ever got going, or just the way that you?
No, it fell into our lap, really, because there was no plan to have a bunch of people like we ended up with. We were going to bootstrap and learn, and but we were talking with a bunch of our friends and family in our market and saying, do you know anyone in the roofing industry? Because you don't really know what everyone does, right? And somebody said, yeah, actually my girlfriend works for a roofing company. And so we reached out to her, and then she said, hey, there's my main guy would like to come with and help out and talk. And because all we want to do is ask questions. We just want to understand what we're getting into. Right. Neither one of us are from the trade world. And, I know how to run small businesses, but this is a different widget, right? I know how to sell widgets, but this is a new one for us. So we went to lunch with them. And by the end of the lunch, they both were like, are you looking for anybody? And we're like, we never thought we'd had a chance to get these people. And we're like, absolutely. And they weren't happy with where they're at, which you'll see a lot in the trade world is people are not really happy. They're treated poorly. I'm not a trade guy, so I treat people as I would want to be treated. So when I had an open door policy, and still do, I don't even think of it as an open door policy. I just want to come talk to me whenever you want. Some of the repair guys were talking to our production guy and saying, I can't believe I get to talk to him. Like, well, that's crazy to me.
Right.
Right. So we ended up with, essentially operations person who did all our permitting and phones and invoicing. And then we had a guy who knew roofing inside and outs. And he had 4 service guys to start repairs immediately. Right. That's not something that's really done with most of the franchises right now. They work their way into the repairs. So it was a win-win across the board. So repairs really helped us start our business. We were always building for the future. We were never building for next year. We were never building for year 2. We were always building for year 7. Right. And that was a good big goal of ours, that neither one of us wanted to buy a job. That's not the intention of being a franchise owner in my mind. I'm looking for the future, whether it's a legacy for the family, whether it's an exit, to be determined what that's going to be at this point. But it was always for the future. And, there's nothing wrong with, a franchise with a one-man band for a couple of years. That's the way he wants to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. It wasn't for us, right? We were always building to be a 20, 30, $40 million company at the time. So having that team early on helped us get there faster.
And so going back to what you said about where you are now, to that point, very early on, you were 100% in the business, and now you're a little bit outside working on the business, right?
Yeah. I'd love to be more, right? I'm, technically the visionary. And if you're familiar with EOS and traction, I'm the visionary of the business, and I love to be more on the business. Situations happen, I'm more in than I'd like to be right now, but that's the ultimate goal is I'm thinking forward. I'm planning for the future. I'm looking at other strategic partnerships or investments or growth or whatever it may be. That's what I love to do, and find ways to make us better in general, similar to what horsepower does for us.
Yeah.
Right. They're always trying to find ways to make us better. And I want to do that more internally.
So when you talk about as the business owner in the day-to-day, what do you think is the most rewarding part of your job? And outside of that, what keeps you on your toes?
The most rewarding part is seeing the reviews come in, right? Seeing what we've done, right? We're tearing people's roofs apart. We're gutting out their HVAC units, we're lighting them up for Christmas, and seeing those reviews come in and what we did for them and how we treated them. And when they mention names in reviews and this person was amazing, this person was amazing, I can't believe you guys actually called me back or did this or that. That's what it's all about for me, right? And of course the revenue behind it. Let's not be silly here. But when I see those things, like, okay, we're doing things right. That's the biggest thing for us, is we want to change the game. That's one of our, that's our vision, and do something different than everybody else is doing, right? The trades they're old, they're antiquated. They've been doing the same thing over and over and over again, and they have a terrible rap. It's the HVAC and roofing are 2 of the least trusted industries out there. We want to change that, right? We want people to think of us as like, I can trust those guys. I use them for my HVAC, or I use them for my roofing. Why can't I use them for the other? I mean, I spent $50,000, $70,000 on a roof. I trust them, right? I'm going to give them a chance to do their HVAC as well, As far as challenges, it's always personnel, right? And just things that could go wrong on the job sites. Uncontrollable situations, right? We had a situation where tile loaders came on this paver driveway. They sunk the driveway. We can't control that, right? We have no clue that this is going to happen now. It had rained a week before, it rained a few days during the week, and it was the perfect storm where it's a 20 plus year old paver driveway. We sunk it, right? Now there's a whole new set of issues and problems that we got to deal with. One is it the distributor? Is it the loaders? Is it us? Like, who's ultimately on the hook for this? Or, we have a lot of things in our contract that waives us of these things. We're not that company though, right? We have it there to protect ourselves, but we're always about doing the right thing. So those are the things that I hear. Or if somebody stepped through in a ceiling, or they damaged stairs going up with the HVAC unit, that's the part that stresses me out, right? The some are controllable, some are uncontrollable.
The uncontrollable controllables, right?
Exactly.
You obviously want people to be diligent about what they're doing and how doing it, but sometimes things just happen.
Exactly.
So It's interesting. I know that you mentioned EOS for a minute, and I know that you were in the beginning a little bit what's the word, defensive on EOS to start when you first started the business.
I didn't need it.
You didn't need it, quote unquote.
Like I don't need it right now. Like I'm too busy. I don't need this. Whatever. We're small. I don't need it.
So talk about the transition into involving EOS in your business, and sort of where it has led you to where you are now.
It's changed the way we do business. It was an expensive upfront cost, right? If you get the implementer to come do it, but I still highly recommend that, getting an implementer to do it. Self-implementing is very difficult to do. You get somebody who knows what they're doing, explains the process to you, is on you, right? They hold you accountable, which is what EOS is all about, is being held accountable. That was a game changer for us. Well, now we started doing analysis on all employees, plus minus, what are they doing here? What are they doing here? And you realize some you have right people, they're in the wrong seat, or some you have wrong people that shouldn't even be there, right? And we quickly found out who these people are that shouldn't be with us anymore. And we've made those changes, and we made those changes pretty quickly after this. Helped us become more efficient, got rid of some toxicity. It's changed things from the get-go, and we still implement it. It's hard to fully roll out to everybody and get all buy-in. It's always a battle, right? But in general, we're running it as a business. We're using it as a tool for our business. Leadership uses it every single day, and we're trickling it down. Our sales team has it. Operations is getting it. The varsity team uses it every single week. So it's becoming culture to everybody, and that's what it's all about. And it holds accountability. We put numbers up on the boards. You see red, you see green. You're fully aware of where you stand.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said too. EOS is something you could, quote unquote, again, implement yourself. But for your company, when you make an investment like that, the buy-in goes up, especially for leadership, right? We've made an investment. Like, let's not mess around with this. We made an investment for this. It's going to make us better. But now, like, let's sit down, let's lock in, and let's go into it. And I know that when we chatted about it a little bit, you had mentioned in the beginning, I just had so many things going on. I just wasn't ready to relinquish those things to get me going. But now that you have, it has changed your business.
Yeah. And I wish we would have started from the get-go, because it would have been easier to implement, and it would have been culture immediately, versus now pushing through with a few people that have been there a long time, right? That we didn't do it. It's this new thing, and there's issues and to-dos, and this rocks, and they're like, what is this? And you're in the trade world, right? I can see this being easier to implement in an office environment where everyone's, white collar. There's always pushback with guys in the field and the trades of having to have certain things that they have to do, but it's part of the job now.
Right.
So
if you were talking to someone who was thinking about business ownership, what advice would you give them about everything, about mindset, about what you have to understand before diving into business ownership or even franchising in general?
If you're not willing to put in the work, you're going to get nothing out of it, and you're going to lose a lot of money. That's first and foremost. We say it. We do validation calls all the time. One of the first things I tell people is, just because you write a check, you go through the schooling, and you open your doors, does not mean you're successful. Not even close. You will fail immediately if that's your mindset. That's far and away number one, failing and blaming the franchise network when they're not putting the effort in. Like, I don't, and I think what a lot of it comes from, and honestly, is if you've never run a business, right? You think this network, this group, yes, there's a lot of great procedures in place and marketing in place. That doesn't mean it's a business, right? So they think they can cut a check, open their doors, and kind of just sit back and wait for people to start calling. It doesn't work that way, and it never will. So if you're not willing to put in the effort, don't even waste your time. Just go be a W-2, get your safe check. There's nothing wrong with that at all. My wife, and she had that, right? Allowed me to be a little crazy with some of my ventures.
So what traits or skills do you think are essential for someone to run a business?
I do think having the sales focused mindset, that ability, allows you not to have to get a sales leader, right? Or a person, because you don't really know how to train them. You don't know what the aspects. I think that's helped myself and other franchisees out, they have a sales mind. I have a very operational mind too, which helps. They don't always go together, but luckily I have that experience, and that focus where you can now sell, right? If you're, I'm going to throw a whatever if you're an engineer, right? You're a planner. You make sure everything's perfect. It's plan, plan, plan. And it's hard to ever execute because you're planning all the time. You have to let go and say, I got to give this a shot, right? I gotta run some jobs that I know I'm not going to make money at, but I need the experience, right? I'd rather get the experience than just sit here and wait for a perfectly profitable job, because you're never going to find it early on. You got to forget your KPIs your first year as far as your revenue or your margins. You got to wipe it out. I got to get jobs. I'm going to get referrals off those jobs, which I can make money on, but I also need to know what we're good at, what we're bad at. I need to learn these things. And if you're not performing jobs, whatever the trade is or whatever the business is, you're never going to learn and you're never going to grow. So that's the first thing is definitely have that sales mindset. You have to be patient. I have to be okay with things not being perfect, which is very, very difficult for a lot of business owners because we're OCD, right? We want everything just right. I want to make sure my customers are happy. This, products arriving on time, whatever it is. There's human error, right? There's a truck that breaks down. There's this that happens. You have to be willing to accept that and understand that things aren't going to go smoothly every single time.
Yeah. A little bit of controlled chaos. As you look back into getting into franchising from your first businesses, if you had to start it all over again, is there anything that you would do differently to prepare for being a part of a franchise business?
That's a good question. I do wish part of me wants to, there's so much that horsepower offers that I don't take advantage of, right? It's my mindset. I got my head down, I'm going, and to pull back and take the time to read through a lot of this stuff. You guys have so much information, and sometimes it's overload, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that I don't even know exists because I'm not taking the time to go through it. So I do wish I had a little bit more capacity and patience to read through this and understand what other values you guys are providing that I'm simply not using. A lot of people in this office would say the same thing.
Yeah, and I think that well, when you're running the business, sometimes you don't get a chance to look back and
Right.
it's like when you planting flowers, sometimes you can't stop and smell the roses.
Right.
When you think about your long-term vision, let's just talk Mighty Dog. When you think about your long-term vision for Mighty Dog, what's next?
We want to triple in size in the next 3 years. We want to go hard. And part of that is the commercial world, which I'd say it's probably 20% of our business right now. I want it to be 50% of our business. We're really, really good at it. And GCs and those are starting to recognize that. So we're getting more opportunities than we ever have. But that's a big portion of where I want to go is in the commercial side. Now, we love doing the residential. I love doing all of them. The shingle, tile, metal, flat. It really doesn't matter what the product is. We can do them all. And seeing the capacity, seeing what our guys can do and how our guys can sell certain things and new projects we do. And it's pretty cool when you're doing not a new school, but you're redoing a school, right? And now we have this beautiful brand new roof on it. We actually did HVAC on it as well. And it's a nice accomplishment. And we got it done in a certain time period before school started that nobody else was willing to commit to. So, there's certain things that we can do, which again, we're starting to get noticed because of those things.
And, I meant to ask you this a little bit earlier. I know that you started off and like you said, had a team somewhat fall into your lap or just had some key people fall into your lap. As you've built this out, talk a little bit about your team. Talk about, the difficulties or the non-difficulties of finding people to do the labor.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously when everyone first starts, I remember when you first started, everyone was like, well, where do I find the labor? How do I find the labor? Oftentimes it's not as difficult as we think when we get into the space and we talk about our vendor partnerships or suppliers or whatever. But I just wanted you to touch on a little bit about how your team has grown, some of the things that you've done to grow that team and how that has worked for you.
Yeah, a lot of growth has been referrals from people that work for us. They're happy there. So they're telling people, hey, you should probably take a look at this. And yeah, some of the actual re-roof teams have been difficult. They were difficult early on. When you're not busy, it's hard to keep them. It's hard to keep, period. As you grow, you get more business and you can keep and you get better crews and you can start fine tuning. And we've had a great set of crews now for almost 2 years that are our guys. And as long as we're keeping them busy, they're with us. But it took a lot to get through that. A lot of people start out great, and then you start to see the laziness to come in, and they're not going to hold the quality that we want to hold. We set a standard, right? We're not asking for the highest price, but we're not the lowest price either. We want to show good value, but in order to do that, we need to have certain quality. So we were able to do that. But then, as far as other personnel inside the office and inside, the field guys, it's literally been referrals from other guys in the company. Some in the roofing world, some not. And we've trained a lot of guys to I don't think any of our field supers have ever been in the roofing industry, but now they're all amazing at it, right? They're really good. They're knowledgeable. They hold the crews accountable. They know what to look for. But a lot of that had to do with our main guy that we hired originally, his experience. When they come across something on top of the roof, they give him a call and he comes out and said, no, this is how you handle this one. This is how you handle this one. And they're always learning and getting better. So we promote a lot within. We've just made two new promotions from those guys into supervisor roles. And that's a big deal for us to make sure we're always promoting within as much as we can.
It's incredible. So do you think, I mean, obviously you've been in it for a little while now, but from not knowing anything about roofing to being where you are now, where the business is going, how do you see the roofing space evolving just for your business?
Yeah. When I started, of course, I didn't know anything about anything, right? Shingle, tile, metal, that's what I knew about. I knew there's some flats, but I didn't know what the materials were or anything like that. But now as we're evolving, we're learning these different products. And one of these, a couple of the products, one's called stone coated metal. And it looks like tile or it looks like shingle. Most people, when we do it, they get the tile version, but it's metal. So it's way more durable. It has tremendous wind uplift for obviously our market in Southwest Florida with the hurricanes. Beautiful product. You'd never know it's metal as you're looking at it. In the same vein, there's a new product called, these aren't new, but they're newer, 10 plus years, called Brava, where it's a composite roofing tile. Super lightweight, but you're not breaking this thing, right? It's a hard plastic, let's say. And again, you think, oh, that's going to look terrible on a roof. You drive by, you really don't know that it is. So there's some new products out there that I'm excited to actually start installing more and more of. One, they're going to last. Well, as a roofer, is that a good thing or not? Right.
Right.
but there's tremendous value in these, and it's exciting to see different products come in. Tile is a very brittle product. It's heavy. It's really difficult to put on and take off. So I'd love to see these other products because we can get through them a lot faster as well versus longer wait times, longer install times. That's that part I would like to see as well.
Have you guys had questions about, like, you hear a lot of things about, the other aspects of Mighty Dog Roofing. Have you dove in at all to gutters, to windows, to solar, to anything of that nature?
I was always, even from day one, when we were signing up with Mighty Dog, I knew we weren't going to touch these other divisions until we got one down really well, because you can spread yourself too thin and all of a sudden you do nothing well. So I want to make sure we knew the roofing world. We knew it inside and out. We were good at it, and we're there now. So the next thing we want to start to explore is the windows. Licensing is very difficult in the state of Florida. So you have all those issues. It's not, the roofing license doesn't cover the window license. So we got to deal with those challenges. But we're there, and we get asked all the time, do you do windows as well? Do you do windows as well? So we're already there for their HVAC. We're already there for their roofing. I'd love to be able to start doing windows too. And I think that's our next adventure.
Well, Phil, I thank you tremendously for being on the podcast.
Happy to be here.
It's been too long that we haven't had you on here, so I appreciate you being on here. Thanks for joining us on the Franchise Frontier podcast. I hope today's episode gave you a little bit of a great insight into business ownership and possibly discovering your why on why to start business or where it goes from here. So in the meantime, please keep discovering what's possible, and we'll see you on the next episode.